Good afternoon, everybody. This is Miss Erin from Cedar Run Wildlife Refuge. Coming to you today, Tales at 2, our new live streaming videos that we're going to be doing every weekday afternoon at 2 p.m. Today's topic is Raptors of the Refuge. So as many of you know, Cedar Run here is a nature center, a wildlife hospital. We have hiking trails. Currently our nature center is closed, so we are hoping to share some of our animals with you. You are welcome to still come and visit Cedar Run. Our trails and our animal housing area are open. Hopefully in the next few days with the nice weather, you're all able to come out and see us as well. So today we're going to talk about the raptors. So a raptor is a bird of prey, so an animal that likes to eat meat. And they're built a little differently than some of our other birds. Their beaks are sharp and hooked to help them cut up their food. They also catch their food with their feet. So on their feet not only are claws, but they have very sharp talons to help them hold on to the things that they're catching. And they use those also as something to capture their prey. So not only are they holding on to their food, they need to have strength in their feet to make sure that their food doesn't escape them. So to start off with, we're going to check out some of the different body shapes that a raptor may have. In New Jersey, we've got quite a few different types of raptors. We've got the hawks, we've got the eagles, the owls, the vultures, and the falcons. But we're going to start off checking out the body shape of the falcons. So we have 3 different species of falcons that live here in New Jersey. This is the smallest one. This is the American kestrel. They have a wingspan up to about 24 inches, so this is as large as this bird gets. But no matter what kind of falcon you are seeing in New Jersey, they all have the same body shape. So falcons are built for speed. They've got thin pointed wings, they've got a pointed head and a thin tail, and that's going to help them mostly with their speed. So these guys want to move as quickly as possible, chasing after their prey as they can. So whether it's a kestrel of this size, the merlin, which is slightly larger, or the peregrine falcon, who is the largest of the falcons in New Jersey, they're all going to have the same sort of body shape as my friend here. So they're using their sharp pointed head to help them when they're maneuvering out of the sky. These guys don't like to pursue in the same way as a lot of other birds do. They like to get up very, very high and continue to flap their wings as they're looking for prey. And then once they spot something they'd like to eat, they'll tuck their wings in and do a dive in what's called a stoop, and they kind of drop from the sky. So having this pointed head shape is going to help them make a much faster speed in order to catch their food a little bit easier. The kestrel doesn't go quite as fast as the peregrine falcon, who's their larger cousin. They're able to go up to over 200, sometimes 220 miles per hour. Our little kestrel, maybe if they're lucky, can catch about 60, 65 miles an hour. All right, then we're going to straight over to one of our larger raptor friends. That's Rachel. So we had our tiny little American kestrel. This is the largest of the raptors that calls New Jersey home year-round. This is the bald eagle, and they have a wingspan of 5.5 up to 8 feet. So this is 8 feet that we're holding here today. This bird is not really built for speed. This bird has more of a muscle. They're saving their energy by having these large, wide wings. So instead of flapping often like the falcons do, these guys are going to soar and catch the wind like a kite and stay up in the sky. So not only will we find an eagle with a wing shape like this, the hawks have wings like this, the vultures have wings like this, large wide wings to help them to soar and to circle up above. All right, this guy doesn't have quite as pointed of a head. He's not really going to be diving out of the sky. And he has a much different shape to his tail. So he's not going to have a skinny tail like the falcon does. He has more of a wide tail. And this tail is going to help these guys act sort of like a parachute. So as this large body of theirs is coming back down to the ground, they want to be able to slow themselves down, and they use their tail, pop it back up, and it slows them down a bit like a parachute would if you were jumping out of a plane. Right, last one that we got. So our falcons had our speedy body. Our eagles, our hawks, and our vultures have more of the soaring shape to their bodies. And then last but not least are our friends, the owls. So hunting out... Got some noisy geese behind us. So our owls who are hunting out in the nighttime, they're not really worrying about their speed. They're not going to be going as quickly when they're hunting in the dark through the trees. They're not going to be going as high up into the sky like the eagles and the hawks do. So these guys are going to have a very round shape to their bodies. And compared to the size of their body, their wings aren't that big either. So they've got more of the rounded edge to their wing, typically a rounded shape to their head, other than our friends that might have some ear tufts sticking up. And they've got more of a rounded shape to their tail. So because they're hunting in the night, all the owls really want to do is sneak up on something quietly. They want to be stealthy rather than have muscle or have speed like our other friends do. So this afternoon, we're going to be checking out one of our raptor friends. Here at Cedar Run, because we run a wildlife hospital, we get lots of injured animals brought to us. Most of our animals do get released, thankfully, but occasionally animals have to stay here at Cedar Run permanently because of permanent injuries they may have. So this guy here is one of our permanent residents. So some of our resident animals are out on view for the public to come see. Others who have a good temperament and don't mind people being around them all that often, they're used for education programs. So this is Aldora, our red-tailed hawk. And Aldora has been at Cedar Run for almost 20 years. This will be 20 years this year. He was originally brought to our hospital on Christmas Day of 2001. And it ended up that he was injured by a car. So someone had found him on the side of the road, brought him to our wildlife hospital. And we did our best to heal his injuries, but as you can see as we're zooming in a little bit, he has his left eye completely blind. So the eye is there, but it doesn't have any vision any longer, which makes it, as a hunting bird, kind of hard to live your life out in the wild. So usually once an animal comes into our hospital, they'll spend a long time in our care, and then we kind of assess if they're able to be released back out. So in Aldora's case, we knew he could still see some, but we knew he wouldn't be able to find enough food to survive on his own in the wild. So since 2001, he's been a teacher. He goes out to schools, he does festivals. He also gets to do things like this, where he gets to interact with the public. So he is one of our best education ambassadors. So red-tailed hawks in the wild will live quite a while compared to some of our other birds of prey, maybe 10, 15 years, 20 if they're very lucky. In the case of birds that live in captivity, like Aldora, they can maybe live to be 30 or 35 years old. So Aldora was a first-year bird when he came in, so we think he is turning 20 this year. This is around the time that red tails like to start laying their eggs, so it's just about his birthday. He's not 21 yet, he can't go out drinking. So Aldora has spent quite a long time with us at Cedar Run, but if he were a wild red tail, he would have a much different life. He'd be out hunting on a daily basis, he'd have his own territory set up, he'd probably have a mate. They do mate for life. But of course his main job is to be population control. He's out there, he's hunting for smaller animals, hopefully finding lots of smaller things to eat. So in his case, one of his favorites are probably mice, but he also really likes squirrels and rabbits. He'll sometimes hunt for snakes and other small animals like that. He's not great with fish. He doesn't often go for other birds, but occasionally they will. But pretty much anything that's going to be able to fit into these large feet that you see. So because he's hunting with his feet, he's using those feet to help him hold on to his food. He uses those talons like they're a fork, so he's able to kind of grasp the food as he gets it. So as long as the animal isn't much larger than his feet, it's something that he would be able to eat. So often people ask us if our hawks are able to catch their cat or catch their small dog. It's possible, but that animal's going to be much heavier than this guy's able to handle. So of course, always keep an eye on your cat and your dog, but you don't need to worry too much about a hawk coming down and trying to eat him. So I'm sure a lot of you might be thinking, how much does this guy weigh if I'm saying he isn't going to eat your dog or your cat? So a lot of times people think that he weighs maybe 8, 10, 15 pounds. In his case though, he's only about 2.5, maybe 3. So depending on the time of year and how much he's been eating lately, he doesn't weigh very much. He's definitely not going to be able to pick up your 5 or 10 pound dog because they weigh more than he does. So in the case of birds are lighter than they look. They've got the feathers, of course, which are pretty light. But they also have hollow bones, and the hollow bones are going to make them much lighter to be able to get up into the sky. So even though he might look like he's weighing a lot more than he doesn't want to weigh a whole lot. So he's going to be lighter so he can get up off the ground a little bit easier. All right. Questions? All right, so I'm going to put our friend Aldora away, and we're going to go scope out a couple of our other raptors that are living a little bit nearby our friend here. So over in our animal enclosure area, a lot of our animals are behind the scenes like my friend Aldora because they do work and do a lot of programming. So the public doesn't really get to see them other than for education programs like today. But a lot of our resident animals, the non-releasables, they are out on view for the public to come and visit. So we're going to scope out first one of our other raptors, our great horned owl. Her name is Bubba, and she's actually the resident animal here at Cedar Run that's been here the longest. So Bubba has been here about 30 years. So she's quite an old owl. Probably, if you were to say in human years, she's about 90 or so. She's lived a nice long life with us, and we're hoping we have her for quite a bit longer. So because it is the daytime, of course, our friend Bubba is taking a bit of a snooze. But as you might see, she is moving around a little bit to scope us out as we're getting a bit closer. Oh, we're getting blurry.
Mm-hmm.
A bit over here. Oh, technical difficulties.
There she is. Okay, we got her.
All right, so this is Bubba. Bubba has been here at Cedar Run since 1990. So like I said, she's been here 30 years. We don't know her age when she arrived at Cedar Run, but she was an adult. So to be in her 30s as a great horned owl is a pretty good age in captivity. So Bubba's injury is that she was actually found right here in Medford at the Allen Elementary School. Someone found her tangled up in a soccer net, and they brought her to our wildlife hospital. And because of the extent of her injuries, she actually had to have a partial amputation of her wings. So she is no longer able to fly, hence why she's here with us at Cedar Run. So the great horned owls are very common. We have a lot of great horned owls in New Jersey. They live in many different places, not just in your backyard, but also in cities, in the country. They're very adapted to different types of habitats. So one of their favorite foods are mice, of course, as any owl would love to eat some of those. But lots of people really enjoy the great horned owl because they love to eat skunks. So I don't know about you all, but I would not want to eat a skunk. That's a question.
Do they have favorite activities?
So someone asked, do they have favorite activities? So our friends, the Raptors, they like to kind of just hang out most of the time. But we do try to give them enrichment, which is puzzles for the animals to do. So in a lot of cases, it may be food hidden in something or under something or around something. So they have to work a little bit harder to get the food that they would like to try. So in the case of our owls, they do sometimes get some enrichment, but mostly the vultures and the hawks, in the case of the Raptors, they like enrichment a little bit more. Those guys are a little more active, especially in the daytime when we're there trying to do things for them. Huh. Oh yeah, so we're planning on next week to continue our video series that we will be doing some enrichment videos to kind of show you all some puzzles and things that we do give the animals.
Do they eat live mice or frozen?
Oh, do they eat live mice or frozen? So any of our animals that are going to hopefully be releasable that are in our wildlife hospital, we do give them live mice to make sure they do have the ability still to hunt. But any of our resident animals, because of their injuries or other issues, they do get dead frozen mice or defrosted mice to eat.
Do they miss hunting?
Do they miss hunting? That's a good question. I don't know. I always tell children that they probably don't miss hunting because think about us. If we had to go hunt for our food rather than open up the fridge, it's a whole lot more work. So it isn't a thing they need to adapt to. But I think once they adapt to it, they don't miss it all that much. All right, let's try another friend. We'll move on over this way. Any other questions coming up?
I thought you had two great horned owls.
Oh, we did. We just lost our great horned owl Ashley a few months ago. So there's only Bubba on view right now.
And would Bubba eat an opossum?
Bubba would totally eat an opossum. Great horned owls are not too picky with their food. They are very, very strong, so they will sometimes go for something a little too large. Like I said earlier, they'll eat a skunk. So if they're able to eat a skunk, they can definitely catch something the size of a possum. So these guys are only eating meat, so pretty much anything that's a good size that's out at night, they're going to enjoy eating those guys.
And somebody asked, is that the Lowe's enclosure that was built? The one that Bubba's in?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right, guys. So another type of raptor we get a lot of at Cedar Run. I was saying how the great horned owls are very common. Our vultures are pretty common coming into the wildlife hospital as well. So in this enclosure, we have Ursula, who you just saw is the black vulture. And we have Socrates, who is our turkey vulture. And these guys would get along out in the wild. They don't mind living with one another. They kind of would take different things with each other, helping each other find food. So they do have a relationship in the wild as well as in our enclosure here. And both of these two are with us because of wing injuries as well. So we were showing the eagle silhouette earlier with the wide wings. These have wide wings as well to help them stay up in the sky and be able to circle and soar and look around for food that they'd like to eat. So our friends the vultures are nature's garbage men. These guys are going to be out looking for dead things to clean up and eat for us all. Without them, we would have a lot of dead carcasses and things around out in nature. So the turkey vulture and the black vulture, like I said, they do get along most of the time in the wild. They have the same job, but they're built a little differently. So if you're all able to see our turkey vulture Socrates, her nose is a little different than the black vulture. Her nose has kind of a nostril that you can see through. So she's a little bit better at finding those dead animals because she's able to smell them a bit more. And our friend, the black vulture, is able to kind of figure out where the turkey vultures are in order to find their food a little bit easier. She's showing off for us today. She's moving too much. So as you can see, Ursula is the younger one. You've only had her for a couple years. She's got a whole lot more energy moving around, showing off for everyone. Socrates has been here at Cedar Run since 1997, so she's been here for 23 years. So she's a little on the older side. She's hanging out, just watching what everybody else has to do. Giving us a foot tap right now.
Nothing.
All right. So to finish up this afternoon, we've seen our red-tailed hawk, we saw our great horned owl, now our vultures. We have a special treat for all of you that haven't been to visit in the last week or so. Our two bald eagles that we have, Haley and Orion, they have actually laid an egg. So it's an unfertilized egg. That means there's no baby inside of the egg, but they think something is in there, so they have been sitting on it and nesting. They don't have a traditional bald eagle nest. They don't have a 1-ton sized nest made out of sticks up in a tree, but they have some nice little sticks that they've put together on the ground that their egg is currently sitting in.
Somebody just asked if they like looking at their reflection in the mirror over there.
Yeah, some of you may have noticed there are some mirrors in with our vultures. Vultures are very social, so they do like to have other vultures around. So the mirrors help them think that there are more vultures in their enclosure. So a lot of our animals do get mirrors. In the case of some of our mammals and some of our other birds, they like to kind of see another of their own kind, even if they're not in an enclosure with one of those animals. So we're coming up on the eagles. We currently have them roped off a bit. We don't want to upset them. Even though there's no baby in that egg, we still want them to be happy and be able to sit on the egg and be comfortable. So we're able to get a little bit closer, hopefully, and be able to see, I think Orion, the male, is sitting on the egg right now.
Yeah, but I'm getting a lot of the fence.
Okay, you can go under.
I can go under. Okay.
So special permission for us to go underneath. So as you guys can see, that's our male bald eagle. His name is Orion. He's been here at Cedar Run since 2000, so about 20 years. He's unable to fly from flying into some high tension wires and injuring himself. But he's laying on the egg right now in their little makeshift nest that they've made. But up above him is the female, Haley. And she's kind of watching their area. She's making sure that there's nothing too crazy going on, making sure no people are getting too close to them. And if you can see, she's preening right now. That means she's cleaning her feathers. So that means she's pretty comfortable. She doesn't mind us getting a little too close. If something scary was happening, she'd be on alert and she wouldn't want to be cleaning herself. She'd want to be paying attention to what was going on around. So as you can see, Orion's kind of snuggled in. They'll sit on that egg even though it isn't going to hatch for a couple weeks probably, until they realize that there's not going to be a baby coming out of it. All right, any questions from anybody out there? How big is the egg? All right, if you want to pan over to me, our eggs are about this big. So compared to the size of some other eggs that you might find in nests at your home, like for sparrows and things like that, it's going to be a much larger egg. So the babies, when they come out, are already a pretty good size. But they're going to grow really quickly. So, can you see me?
It's not zooming out.
Got to zoom out. We're good now?
No, we can't zoom out.
Oh, no. Can you all hear me at least?
There we go. I got you zoomed out.
All right, so the egg is about this big. The biggest of all the eggs birds lay are going to be ostrich eggs. They're the largest. But the eagle's egg is pretty large because their baby is going to be a pretty good size. So if you think of a smaller bird like a robin or something of that sort, their egg is going to be equivalent to the size that they'll be as an adult. So these guys, if their baby were to hatch, it would be about this big. And they're going to grow to the size of their parents, which you guys already saw, in just a few weeks. So in about 2 months, mom and dad are the same size as their baby that they've had.
How do you know it's unfertilized?
We actually don't know for sure, I guess. Typically with birds, the male bird has to be able to fly in order to fertilize the egg. So in the case of Orion, he's not flighted. So we are very, very sure that it's not fertilized. It's possible it could be, but it's pretty hard for that to happen in captivity like that. Good question. All right, any other questions out there, guys?
Last one, have we ever had a baby hatch here?
We have never had a baby hatch here. So most of our animals do not have a male and a female in the same enclosure. Some of them do, in the case of these guys. A lot of times our females that are alone will lay eggs. Obviously we know those aren't going to hatch, but we've never had any hatch. Because of the flight issue, a lot of our birds aren't able to fly. It's never been a concern of them being together.
The lifespan of a bald eagle?
Lifespan. So Orion is 20, Haley's about 15. In captivity, these guys can live to be about 35 years old. In the wild, pretty long time too, because of their size. They don't have as much to worry about as some of the smaller birds. But they're one of the longest lived of the raptors, the birds of prey that we've been talking about today. All right.
Why do the males have to be able to fly in order to fertilize the egg?
Oh, that's getting too complicated. I'm going to keep it G-rated for all the kids out there this afternoon.
That's a
But if you really would like to know, email us at education@cedarrun.org. So thank you everyone for coming and watching the video with us today. Anybody that is watching this not live and you're watching the follow-up later, if you have any questions, feel free to add them down in the comments and we'll try our best to answer them for you. We will have a video tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, at 2 o'clock, of a baby squirrel feeding in our wildlife hospital. So if you all would like to see that, please join us again. And we will be starting this up again next week at 2 p.m. So hopefully we'll see you all again. Feel free to come out to the trails. We are open for people to come and visit and see the animals. Have a good one, everybody.